The galaxy had waited for this day. For months, the Council of Alien Species had spoken in whispers about humans. No one had truly met them in person, not face to face. Rumors spread like wildfire. Some said humans were small and weak. Others said they were unpredictable and dangerous. But all agreed on one thing: humanity was coming. And today, at the edge of neutral space, the first official contact would begin. The Council's fleets were already in position. Hundreds of alien ships circled the great station, forming a shield of power. Diplomats prepared their speeches. Translators tuned their devices, and soldiers checked their weapons nervously. Everything was ready. Then the sky broke. At first, the stars seemed to bend. Space itself rippled like water disturbed by a stone. Scanners screamed warnings, though no one understood what was happening. Captains leaned forward, expecting a small vessel or an envoy ship. Instead, something vast pushed through the dark like a mountain tearing through clouds. A shadow bigger than anything they had ever seen spread across the stars. When the ripples cleared, every ship froze. It was not a cruiser. It was not a carrier. It was something beyond measure. A warship so massive it seemed to crush the void itself. Its hull was thick black steel, scarred and plated, bristling with towers of guns that glowed faintly as if alive. Row after row of missile bays lined its sides, and behind it, engines burned with the power of a star. The alien crews had no name for it, but one word spread quickly from ship to ship, whispered in fear. Dreadnought, the monster ship. Legends had spoken of human war machines, but no one had believed them. No one thought a single ship could be larger than a fleet, stronger than an army. Yet here it was, blotting out constellations, moving with the slow calm of something that knew no one could challenge it. Inside one alien command bridge, the captain's four hands shook on the controls. This is not a peace ship," he stammered. "This is a weapon." Another officer swallowed hard. "If this is only one of their ships, then how many more do they have?" No one dared to answer. The dreadnought did not fire. It did not send a greeting. It only drifted closer, its shadow swallowing smaller cruisers like a predator gliding through a school of fish. Every alien officer felt the same sensation in their bones, that they were prey. On the council station, panic rose. Diplomats shouted over one another, their voices breaking through the chamber. Why would they bring this monster? Are they declaring war already? Was peace just a trick? The leader of the council, a tall figure of silver skin, raised his voice, trying to steady the storm. They were invited here for talks. Humanity promised a delegation. Yet they bring this ship of death. What do they mean by this? But the humans still said nothing. Only silence came from the dreadnought. Its weapons moved like watchful eyes, tracking the fleets but never firing. Its dark hull gleamed as if daring the galaxy to test it. At last, after endless minutes, a single message blinked across the council screens. For words, "The delegation awaits." That was all. No apology, no explanation, just those words. The chamber fell into silence. The message was not threatening, yet it carried more power than 1,000 speeches. It was as if humanity had spoken through its ship itself. We need not explain. Our presence is explanation enough. On the outer fleets, soldiers whispered in fear. Some ships quietly charged their shields. Others debated retreating altogether. Every commander understood the truth. If the dreadnought fired, there would be no survivors. One alien general slammed his claws against the table. "They mock us. They force us to kneel before their strength." Another diplomat shook her head. "No, this is their law. Peace, yes, but peace under the shadow of power." The debate raged on, but the dreadnought did not move. It floated like a dark mountain, silent and waiting. The galaxy had demanded to see what humanity truly was. Now it had its answer. The first meeting between humans and the Galactic Council had not begun with words, nor with gifts, nor with promises. It had begun with the arrival of a ship so powerful, so monstrous, that it changed the balance of fear across the stars. Every species present understood one thing in that moment. If humanity wished for war, no one could stop them. If humanity wished for peace, no one would dare refuse. The Dreadnought had arrived, and the galaxy would never be the same again. The council chamber was built to inspire calm. Its walls were lined with crystal panels that glowed with soft light. The ceiling showed a moving map of the stars, a reminder that all species under the council were united. Normally, diplomats would enter this place with dignity, speaking with steady voices. But today, fear filled the air like poison. Every leader, every envoy, every general had seen the same thing: the human dreadnought. It was still out there, hovering in silence, bigger than the station itself. No attack had come, no threat spoken, yet the ship's presence was louder than any weapon. The chamber buzzed with panic. Voices clashed, growing sharper by the minute. "They mock us!" shouted a scaled envoy from the Drask Dominion. His tail lashed the ground in anger. "They bring a monster to our gates and call it peace?" "They are warning us," said another, a feathered diplomat from the Tiri species. Her eyes were wide and shining. "Humans show strength to prove they are not weak. Perhaps this is their culture." The Drask envoy snapped back. "Or perhaps they mean to enslave us all." The council leader, the tall silver-skinned elder known as Saralin, raised his hand. His voice trembled, but it carried authority. "Silence. We will speak one at a time. Fear will not rule us here." But fear was already ruling. Across the chamber, generals whispered together. They were counting fleets, calculating weapons, measuring power. Every one of them knew the truth, but none wanted to say it. The combined armada of all council species could not defeat that dreadnought if it chose to fire. One general finally spoke the thought aloud. "If they have brought one ship this large, how many more are hidden in their space? What if they have a fleet of these?" The question sent a chill through the room. Even the bravest envoys lowered their eyes. Another diplomat, old and cautious, leaned forward. Perhaps they bring it for protection. The humans are new to our galaxy's order. Maybe they fear betrayal. Maybe they do not trust us." But a younger envoy burst out laughing bitterly. "Trust us? Look outside the window. Who is supposed to trust who? That ship could destroy us all in a single day." The chamber fell into heavy silence again. From the observation glass, the dreadnought was still visible. Its cannons shifted slightly, as if watching, as if listening. No one could tell if the humans knew of the debate happening inside. The ship's silence made everything worse. Saralin rose from his chair. His long robe shimmered in the soft light as he spoke. "We invited humanity for talks. We asked for peace. Yet they bring this symbol of war. Perhaps they test us. Perhaps they measure our reaction. We must decide. Do we answer with anger, or do we answer with patience?" One council member stood, his voice sharp with fear. "If we show weakness, they will crush us. That is how predators act. We must strike first before they tighten their grip." Gasps filled the chamber. To attack humanity now, without provocation, was unthinkable. Yet the idea did not die. It lingered in the minds of those who feared extinction. A softer voice answered. It belonged to the Tiri envoy again. "No. To attack them now is suicide. You saw what one warning shot could do to the asteroid belt nearby. If they wished to destroy us, they already would have. They are waiting for something." The generals turned their gaze back to the silver-skinned leader. All eyes were on him. Saralin's face was calm, but his hands trembled slightly. He understood the weight of this moment. The galaxy was at the edge of a blade. He finally spoke. "We will not strike. We will wait. We will listen. Humanity has brought a monster, yes, but monsters can be tamed, or perhaps befriended." The words gave little comfort. Behind the walls of the chamber, the alien aides and assistants whispered rumors to one another. Some said the dreadnought was filled with weapons capable of destroying suns. Others said it carried soldiers who had never lost a war. One rumor even claimed the ship was alive, that humans had built an artificial beast that thought and breathed like a god. Each rumor grew darker, each rumor spreading fear deeper into the council's heart. Finally, a messenger entered the chamber. His voice shook as he reported, The human delegation has requested to dock. They bring no fleet, no army, only their chosen representatives. But he hesitated. Their dreadnought will remain in orbit above us. The chamber fell silent once more. Every envoy exchanged glances. No one trusted the other. No one trusted the humans. Saralyn nodded slowly. Then let it remain. If we refuse, we prove ourselves cowards. If we accept, we show courage, or perhaps foolishness. But we must decide. The galaxy watches us now. And so the council prepared to receive the humans. Yet even as they made their choice, the same fear pressed down on every mind. If peace failed, if even a single word went wrong, that monster ship outside would not need hours to end them. It would need only minutes. The fear of the dreadnought was now inside them all. The docking bay of the council station was silent. Soldiers from a dozen alien races lined the walls, their weapons ready but hands trembling. They had been told only one thing. The human delegation is coming aboard. Everyone expected an army. They expected dozens of guards in heavy armor, a display of soldiers to match the monster ship waiting outside. But when the human shuttle touched down, the doors hissed open, and only 5 figures stepped out. 5. No guards. No soldiers. Just 5 humans walking calmly, their boots echoing against the polished floor. The aliens stared in shock. These were the beings the galaxy had whispered about for months. They looked ordinary. 2 men, 3 women, all dressed in simple uniforms of black and gray. No glowing armor. No weapons in sight. Their faces were calm, unreadable. Yet there was something in their walk, something steady, something unshaken, that made every soldier in the bay tighten their grip on their rifles. These were not people who needed protection. These were people who believed the monster ship above them was enough protection for eternity. One of the humans, a tall man with sharp eyes, stepped forward. His voice was clear, low, and carried across the chamber without effort. "We are the representatives of Earth. Thank you for inviting us." The translator devices hummed, repeating his words in dozens of alien tongues. No threats, no arrogance, just simple words. And yet, every alien present felt the weight behind them. The council guards shifted nervously. Some thought, why only 5? Others whispered, are they so confident? Or are we being fooled? The human group followed their escorts into the council chamber. Inside, the room was filled with envoys and leaders, their faces stiff with tension. The great table of unity stretched long, each seat marked with the symbol of a species. At the center was the high chair, where Saralyn, the silver-skinned leader, waited with his eyes fixed on the humans. The humans took their seats without hesitation. They did not bow, they did not fidget, they did not look around in awe. They acted as if they belonged here, as if this was simply another meeting. The silence was unbearable. Every alien expected the humans to speak first, to explain the dreadnought outside, to apologize, to justify. But the humans said nothing. They sat calmly, hands folded, eyes steady. Finally, Saralyn cleared his throat. His voice echoed through the chamber. "Human delegation, you are welcome here. But we must ask, why has your people chosen to bring such a vessel? That ship in orbit, it is not a transport, it is not a diplomatic envoy. It is a weapon of war. The galaxy sees this as a threat." Every alien leaned forward, waiting. The tall human, the same one who spoke earlier, gave a small smile. Not mocking, not cruel, but calm. He answered simply, because peace is fragile, and fragile things must be protected. A murmur rippled through the chamber. Some envoys shook their heads. Others whispered furiously to their neighbors. The Drask envoy slammed his scaled fist on the table. "Protected? You call that monster protection? It is intimidation." The human's eyes turned to him, sharp as blades. "Would you have listened if we came in a ship weaker than yours? Or would you have dismissed us as unworthy of a place here?" The Drask envoy's mouth opened, then closed. He had no answer. Another envoy, the feathered Tiri representative, spoke softly. "But such strength, it frightens us. Do humans not see how dangerous this appears? The human woman beside the tall man leaned forward now. Her voice was calm, almost gentle. Yes, we know it frightens you. That is why we brought it. Fear is honest. Fear cannot be hidden. In fear we will see your true selves. And in fear you will see ours. The words struck like thunder. For a moment no one spoke. Every alien realized the truth in those words. The dreadnought was not just a weapon, it was a mirror. It forced them to reveal who they were under pressure. Some would fight. Some would kneel. Some would seek peace. The chamber grew heavy with tension. The humans had not threatened, yet their presence was a threat in itself. Saarlin finally spoke again, his voice low. So this is how humanity speaks. Not with weapons fired, but with weapons shown. Do you believe this is the path to peace? The tall human gave the smallest nod. Peace is not given. It is earned. And it is kept only when all know what breaking it will cost. A deep silence followed. Some envoys were enraged. Some were shaken. Some, though they would never admit it, felt respect. The meeting had only just begun, but already the galaxy understood. Humanity was not here to beg for a seat at the table. Humanity was here to test the galaxy itself. And outside, the dreadnought waited silent, patient, like a god watching from the dark. The first meeting ended with silence. Humans spoke few words, calm and sharp, and the council had no reply that could match them. But outside, orbiting above the station like a black moon, the dreadnought still waited. It had not moved since its arrival. Its giant cannons pointed nowhere, yet every alien captain felt them pressing against their skin like a blade at the throat. Crews refused to rest. Fleets kept their shields raised. No one could breathe easily under the shadow of that ship. The tension finally broke when one alien commander made a mistake. On the far edge of the fleet, a patrol ship from the Drask Dominion panicked. Its captain, shaking with fear, ordered his gunners to test their weapons. A single plasma round shot into empty space near the dreadnought, harmless but reckless. The council chamber erupted in shouts. Some envoys demanded the humans forgive the mistake. Others screamed in terror, certain the dreadnought would fire. For a moment nothing happened. The giant ship remained silent, unmoving. Then its cannons came alive. From its surface, massive gun towers rotated in perfect unison. Their barrels glowed white-hot, humming with power older species had never seen. Energy crackled across the dreadnought's armored skin, casting shadows like lightning across the void. Every alien ship locked weapons in panic, alarms howling across fleets. Voices cried out over comms. It's charging. They're going to destroy us. Shields up now. But the humans did not fire at them. Instead, the dreadnought aimed at the asteroid belt drifting on the edge of the system. A cluster of rocks, some as large as cities, floated quietly in the darkness. Without a word, the dreadnought unleashed a single shot. One beam, a line of white fire tore across the void, faster than thought. It struck the nearest asteroid, and in an instant, the rock was gone. Not shattered, not broken, but vaporized into dust. The shockwave rippled outward, slamming against other asteroids, cracking them into fragments that scattered like glass. The council station shook under the force. Alien fleets staggered in orbit. Wide eyes turned to the windows, staring at the trail of destruction. In less than 5 seconds, an object that had floated for millions of years was erased. Silence returned. The dreadnought's cannons cooled, glowing faintly like the eyes of a predator who had just shown its teeth. It did not fire again. It simply returned to silence, drifting in calm as though nothing had happened. Inside the council chamber, fear became something heavier. Some envoys whispered in awe. That power! I did not think it possible. Others shook with rage. They are monsters. They will tear apart our worlds just as easily. The Drask envoy, embarrassed by his fleet's mistake, shouted louder than anyone. See? They show us war. They show us terror. They have no intention of peace. But the human representative only looked at him with calm eyes. His voice was low, steady, and merciless. If we wanted war, You would not be alive to speak those words. The chamber froze. The meaning was clear. The shot at the asteroid was not an attack. It was a choice, a warning, a demonstration. The teary envoy, feathers trembling, leaned forward. Why? Why show us such power? Do you not see the fear it brings? The human woman spoke this time, her tone almost gentle. Fear is not our gift. It is our shield. You must understand, humanity does not ask for peace with empty hands. We offer peace with strength in one hand and the promise of war in the other. Which you take is up to you. The chamber fell into whispers again. Some envoys bowed their heads, unwilling to meet human eyes. Others whispered plans of resistance, their voices sharp but hollow. Meanwhile, messages poured in from fleets orbiting outside. Crews reported that their soldiers refused to look at the dreadnought directly. Some whispered that the ship had a soul, that it was watching them, judging them. Fear was no longer strategy, it was reality. The council leader, Saralin, stood slowly. His silver skin glowed under the chamber lights. He raised his voice, steady though his hands shook. Human delegation. You must know this demonstration will echo across the galaxy. Some will see it as wisdom. Others will see it as tyranny. Do you accept this burden? The tall human gave a slow nod. Yes, we accept it. Better you fear the cost of war now than pay it later. The words sank deep into every mind. For the first time in centuries, the Council of Species realized they were not the strongest power in the galaxy. A new force had arrived, and it had not come begging for approval. It had come to show the galaxy the truth. Humanity's hand would shape the future, whether the others agreed or not. And outside, the dreadnought drifted silently, its guns cooling, its engines glowing like the heart of a star. One shot was enough to change everything. The galaxy had seen its demonstration, and nothing would ever be the same again. The chamber was heavy with silence. Every envoy, every general, every aide kept glancing at the wide glass window, where the dreadnought still floated in the void like a black mountain. The image of the asteroid's destruction was burned into their minds. None could forget how quickly it had turned to dust. Fear turned into arguments. One envoy rose from his seat, scales glinting under the chamber lights. His voice was sharp, filled with fury. They do not want peace. They bring a monster to our gates. They show us their weapon, and they expect us to bow. Is this diplomacy? No. This is conquest. The chamber erupted. Voices clashed from every side. They came to test us. No, they only showed restraint. If they wanted war, we would already be dead. Or maybe they are waiting for us to surrender. The council leader, Saralin, tried to calm them, but his voice was lost under the storm of fear. Every species shouted its own truth, its own suspicion. Some envoys demanded immediate alliance with humanity. Others demanded immediate war. No one agreed. The humans sat silently through the chaos. Not a word, not a movement. Their calmness only fueled the fire. It was as if they were watching, measuring who among the council would break first. Finally, the Drask envoy stood once more, rage burning in his eyes. This is humiliation. They dare to treat us like frightened children. We will not kneel. The Dominion withdraws from these talks. Gasps spread through the chamber. The Drask were known for their pride and their armies. Their withdrawal would mean unity was already broken. The tall human finally spoke, his voice cutting through the noise like a blade. You may leave, but remember this. Peace was your choice to keep or throw away. And when the storm comes, do not claim we did not warn you. The words echoed long after he fell silent. The Drask envoy slammed his claws against the table and stormed out, his aides following quickly. The sound of the chamber doors slamming shut felt like thunder. Other factions began to waver. The insectoid delegates whispered about forming their own defense pact, separate from the council. The aquatic envoys hissed about retreating to their deep ocean colonies, far from human space. Paranoia spread like fire, burning away any hope of calm discussion. The teary envoy tried to rise, her feathers trembling as she spoke. We must not break. If we turn on each other, humanity will not need to fight us. We will destroy ourselves. But no one listened. In the corner of the chamber, generals argued with their leaders. Soldiers outside the station whispered of mutiny if they were ordered to face the Dreadnought. Some ships had already pulled further back into orbit, unwilling to sit so close to the monster ship that could erase them in a single strike. Sarelin stood, his voice sharp now, desperate. We must stand together. Unity is our only shield. If we collapse here, the galaxy collapses with us. But it was too late. The chamber was no longer a place of unity. It had become a battlefield of words, a storm of fear and mistrust. Every envoy saw enemies not only in the humans, but in each other. Every species now thought of its own survival, not the survival of the whole. The humans watched in silence, calm, patient, like hunters waiting for prey to tire itself out. Finally, the human woman leaned forward, her voice soft but carrying across the chaos. This is why we came with strength. We knew your council would shatter at the first sign of fear. You do not trust each other. How could you ever trust us? This was never about peace. This was about truth. The words silenced the room. For the first time, every envoy turned their eyes back to the humans. And in that silence, many realized the painful truth. Humanity had not collapsed the negotiations. The council had done it to themselves. Sarelin lowered his head, his silver skin pale. His voice was broken. Then the first contact is a failure. The tall human stood. His expression was unreadable, but his words were cold. No, it is a beginning. The galaxy has now seen the Dreadnought. The galaxy now knows the cost of war with Earth. You may fear us, you may hate us, but you will never forget us. That is enough. The humans turned and left the chamber without another word. Behind them, the council dissolved into shouting once more. Some begged to restore order, others demanded war, and many simply feared what tomorrow would bring. Outside, the Dreadnought slowly rotated, its engines glowing like the heart of a dark sun. To the fleets surrounding it, the message was clear. Humanity did not need the council. Humanity had already won. The negotiations had collapsed. But the legend of the Dreadnought was only just beginning. The council chamber was left in ruins, not by weapons, but by words. Envoys shouted, alliances cracked, and unity collapsed like glass under pressure. While the galaxy's leaders argued in fear and rage, the humans had already left. Their boots echoed down the polished corridors, steady and calm, as if nothing that happened inside truly mattered. Back in the docking bay, the 5 human delegates boarded their shuttle. The doors closed with a hiss, engines roared softly, and soon the small vessel was climbing back toward the monster that waited above, the Dreadnought. From the council station's windows, alien soldiers and aides watched. Many expected the Dreadnought to unleash its fury now, to burn the station into ash for the insult of broken negotiations. But the ship did not move. No cannons glowed. No threats were spoken. The humans had no need to destroy. They had already won. Inside the station, the silver-skinned leader Sarelin stood in silence, listening to the chaos of the chamber behind him. His people begged for answers. They begged for protection. But Sarelin's eyes were fixed on the void, on the Dreadnought drifting patiently above. In his heart, he understood. The humans do not beg. The humans do not chase. The humans wait. In orbit, the Dreadnought received its shuttle. Its vast hangar swallowed the tiny craft like a drop of rain falling into an endless ocean. On its bridge, lined with cold steel and glowing with quiet lights, the human captain stood. He was not dressed in rich robes like alien leaders. He wore no crown, no golden badge, only a plain uniform marked by rank. Yet his presence filled the room with power. Reports came in from the council station. Negotiations, broken factions withdrawing. Unity shattered. The captain gave no sigh, no sign of regret. He only nodded once, as if he had expected this all along. His voice was calm, like stone in a storm. Then the truth is clear. They fear us. Let them. His officers exchanged quiet glances. One finally asked, "Captain, Do we make another attempt at talks? Or do we prepare for war? The captain's eyes were cold as he looked out at the galaxy beyond. Neither. We will wait. We do not chase what runs from us. When they remember the shadow of this ship, they will come back. Not because they want peace, but because they will need it. Meanwhile, panic spread through the alien fleets. Ships argued over comms. Some demanded retreat. Others demanded attack. Yet none dared fire. Every ship knew what one shot from the Dreadnought had done to the asteroid. None wanted to become the next demonstration. Rumors began to spread among the lower ranks. Soldiers whispered that the humans had tested the Council and found it weak. Some said the Dreadnought had not even used its full power, that what they saw was only a fraction of its strength. Every rumor only deepened the fear. Back inside the Dreadnought, the human delegates stood before the captain. The tall man who had spoken in the council bowed his head slightly. They turned on each other faster than expected, he said. The captain's expression did not change. Expected, yes. They live in unity only when it is safe. True unity is proven under fear. And they failed. One of the human women spoke softly. Then what is our path now? The captain turned to her, his voice like iron. Our path is patience. The galaxy has seen us. They have seen what one ship can do. We need no speeches, no promises. The Dreadnought is our language. And they will understand it in time. On the council station, Seralin finally faced his people. His voice was weary, but strong. Humanity has left, but their shadow remains. We must ask ourselves, what do we fear more? Their power or our weakness? His words brought no comfort. The chamber behind him was still chaos. Envoys accused one another, generals threatened withdrawal, and aides whispered of rebellion. The council, once proud, was cracking apart. And far above them, the Dreadnought drifted silently, its engines glowing faintly like a watchful eye. It did not threaten. It did not demand. The silence was worse than words. In every corner of the galaxy, the news spread faster than light. Traders whispered of the first meeting. Soldiers retold the story of the asteroid turned to dust. Children listened wide-eyed to tales of a human ship bigger than cities. Fear traveled with the name Dreadnought. But among the humans, there was no celebration, no shouting of victory, only cold discipline, only the calm of a people who had shown their hand and now waited for the galaxy to play theirs. The human captain stood on the bridge, watching the endless stars. His words were quiet, but every officer heard them. Peace in one hand, war in the other. Let them choose. The Dreadnought turned slowly, adjusting its orbit, silent as death. And so humanity's cold response was not fire, not fury, but patience. The patience of a predator who knows the prey will return to the shadow, whether in fear or in desperate hope. The Dreadnought never fired again. It did not move closer, nor did it leave quickly. It simply remained above the council station, a silent shadow against the stars. To the aliens watching, its silence was worse than a threat. A threat could be answered, but silence could not be fought. Word of what had happened spread faster than light. Merchants carried the story to distant trade routes. Soldiers whispered it in their barracks. Children on faraway worlds heard bedtime tales of a human ship that could erase mountains with one breath. In every corner of the galaxy, one word grew heavy on every tongue. Dreadnought. It was no longer just a ship. It was a legend. On one icy colony, a miner spoke in hushed tones to his crew. They say the humans brought the ship as a warning, to show that no one could break them. On a desert world, soldiers trained under a burning sun. One paused, staring at the sky. If a single human ship can do that to an asteroid, he whispered, what would a fleet of them do to our home? Even rulers in their high palaces could not escape the fear. Kings and queens gathered in secret halls, speaking not of how to defeat humanity, but of how to avoid their gaze. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy was united in one thing: respect mixed with fear. Yet among some, the feeling was different. In the markets of the Tiri, traders whispered with awe. Humans are not tyrants. They could have destroyed the council. They could have burned the station. But they did not. Perhaps their strength is not for conquest, but for protection. A feathered mother told her hatchlings. Humans showed their claws, but they did not strike. That is the sign of a predator who hunts only when forced. Such beings may one day be allies. Not all saw humans as monsters. Some saw them as guardians who carried both fire and restraint. Inside the Dreadnought, the human captain knew the legend was already spreading. He did not smile. He did not celebrate. To him, this was not victory but strategy. He stood at the great window of the bridge, watching the council station grow smaller as the Dreadnought slowly turned away. His officers worked in silence, each one aware that their ship's shadow now stretched across the galaxy. One officer broke the silence. "Sir, what if they unite against us? What if the council forms a great alliance to fight humanity?" The captain's eyes never left the stars. His voice was calm, steady, like stone. "Then they will have done what we asked of them. They will have learned unity, even if only through fear. And even then, unity may not be enough." The Dreadnought's engines burned faintly, carrying it away from the station. Yet its absence was not relief. The void it left felt heavier than its presence. Back in the council chamber, Cerulean sat alone after the envoys had gone. His silver hands trembled as he touched the table. The council had failed. But the galaxy had learned something that day. Cerulean whispered to himself, "Humanity does not need to conquer us. Their shadow alone conquers our hearts." He knew history had just changed. Future generations would not remember the speeches of that day. They would not remember the council's fear or the shouting debates. They would remember only the image of the Dreadnought, silent, massive, mercilessly calm. On distant worlds, songs began to form. Some told the tale of a black ship that swallowed stars. Others spoke of humans who brought peace in one hand and fire in the other. In time, even species who had never seen the Dreadnought would swear their ancestors had been there, watching its cannons glow. The story grew larger than truth. Legends always do. For humanity, the mission was complete. They had not fired upon the council. They had not conquered any world. But they had shown the galaxy something far more lasting than a battle. The cost of crossing Earth. The Dreadnought returned to human space, vanishing into the deep void. Yet its shadow remained everywhere. Every alien leader, every fleet commander, every common citizen carried the memory. When the galaxy thought of war, they now thought of humanity. When they thought of peace, they thought of humanity as well. Because peace and war were no longer separate things. Both were carried in the same human hand. And so the legend was written. The first contact between the council and humanity did not end with treaties. It did not end with war. It ended with the arrival of a monster ship, a dreadnought that made the stars tremble. Aliens would tell their children, "Remember the humans. They came with silence. They came with strength. They came with the ship that taught the galaxy fear." Some would add softly, "And perhaps one day they will come not as shadows, but as friends." But until then, the Dreadnought's legend would live on, etched into the galaxy's memory, a reminder that when humanity finally stepped onto the stage of stars, they did not whisper. They arrived with a ship that shook the universe.